Hi guys, my name is Francois from the French Review, and today we're gonna be talking about the Sage Barista Express 6 months review. We're gonna cover what I like about this coffee machine, what I don't like, why I think you should buy one. We're also gonna make a coffee together, and then I'll give you a couple of tips at the end of this video. To give you a bit of background, I bought this coffee machine 6 months ago. It's actually my second espresso coffee machine. I've been using this coffee machine quite intensively for the past 6 months, pretty much every day, and I would say anywhere between 2 to 4 coffees a day. Before we go into pros and cons, I have to say I do really like this coffee machine. I think this coffee machine is great. Been enjoying it every day. It takes a bit of time at the beginning to get used to it, to know exactly how the coffee machine works, get the coffee shot right, get the texture, the milk texture right as well. Once you get used to it and when you get them right, this coffee machine actually makes perfect coffee. You're going to really enjoy the home setup and your daily fix. Right, let's get the cons out of the way. So basically, first things, I would say it's pretty obvious. This is the power, so it can be quite noisy. It's not a big deal, but it is noisy. The lights are flickering here. It just tells us that the coffee machine is not ready yet. Once they all light on, it means the coffee machine is ready, which doesn't take more than 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes less. However, it doesn't mean that your coffee machine is ready. As you can see here, they all light on, so which means the coffee machine is actually ready. However, the portafilter is still really cold, so it takes a good 10 to 20 minutes to get everything ready. You've got two different options here. The first one is the one I do. Basically come in the morning, switch on the coffee machine, then do whatever you have to do and come back 10, 15, 20 minutes later. The coffee machine will be ready. Or if you're in a rush, what you can also do is basically just pour a couple of shots here. It's just gonna warm up everything and your water filter should be quite hot quite quickly. This coffee machine is a single boiler and not a dual boiler, which means you can't technically pour coffee shots and get the milk ready at the same times. You have to do one or the other. Ideally, you might want to start by the coffee. Once the coffee is done, switch on to the milk, but you can't do both at the same time. This is the only downside. It's not really a downside, but this is basically the big difference between a single boiler and a dual boiler. Bear in mind, this coffee machine costs half the price of a dual boiler, which is a Sage Barista dual boiler actually, which I think it's around £1,200, so $1,400. This coffee machine is only $600, £500. Once again, this is a really good coffee machine. Another thing on this coffee machine is the steam one. Actually, let's just play with it. That's it, nothing happened. So you do understand now the difference between the single boiler and dual boiler. Dual boiler, the steam will come out straight away. Single boiler, you still have to wait. Oh, it's starting. So it's starting. So as you can see, it does take a bit of time. And here we go, now with full power. So you perfectly can see now the difference between single and dual boiler. However, if you like me, that's another downside as well, which can be quite noisy, but once again, it's not a deal breaker. So what I was going to say, I was talking about the steam one basically. The steam one is there. It's not a fast one, but it is good and it does the job. You just need, once you get the trick, you know exactly how to get a good texture for your coffee. It's fine and it works perfectly well. But it does take some time for the first coffee. If you have to make a second coffee, it will be much quicker. Another thing that sometimes can be, once again, I'm going through all of these negative points, but it's not a deal breaker once again. But if we have to think about the water tank, so the water tank is at the back. So as you can see, I've got something at the top. It can be quite tricky if you want to fill the tank here. You do have to take out like that and fill it back. Water tank, I do fill the water tank pretty much every 2 to 3 days. A bigger one would have been good, but no deal breaker. The hooper, something about the hooper, it can only hold 250 grams of coffee, which is not bad, but if you think about what the Sage Smart Pro grinder, I think the capacity of the hooper on the Sage Smart Pro is actually 500 grams. So you do have to feed it quite often, so I would say pretty much once a week. Again, depending on how much coffee you're drinking. Talking about the hooper, let's move to the grind size. So you've got the grind size here on the side. I think you've got 1 to 16 different size, whether you want a thin or coarse. Between you and I've never used it. I've never been above 5, maybe once 8, but it depends of how good your coffee is, or the age of your coffee, and from one coffee to another is going to be completely different. The grinder can be quite messy. I guess between where you have to put the portafilter, like as you can see here, then you can press and it's gonna grind the coffee. But sometimes the coffee, there is a bit of like, let's say a mountain of coffee. It can be quite tricky when you have to pull off the grinder, so the coffee can go on the tray basically. It's not a big deal, but maybe a bigger gap would have been better and would have made the whole grinder coffee experience a bit less messy, I would say. Some things that you do have to think about is every time you're going to make a shot, you may have to clean the shower filter here. As you can see, there is always a bit of coffee grind here stuck. Do try to clean it quite often every time you make a shot. Either some pepper or as you do with like that, and you can see you will get a better shot basically, because otherwise you're gonna have some old coffee stuck in the shower filter. The last things before we move on the pros, it's the gauge. What can I say? I try to be diplomatic, I would say. I did try to use a gauge at the beginning. I still try to kind of use a gauge, but between knowing how much coffee you want to grind, how much coffee you want to yield in a specific time, really, the gauge can be quite confusing, because I would say most of my shot, the gauge might be slightly over the espresso range, but I realized that my coffee was actually really good. So I don't really pay much attention to the gauge anymore. It's more about feeling the taste, habits, I would say, and the coffee is just fine. So if you like me, or if you try to be focused too much on the gauge, you're gonna realize that it can be quite confusing. So, but it's not really a big deal. And I have to say, it does look quite cool on the coffee machine. On the positive aspect of this machine, the first thing is the coffee is great. It's been great to be able to have like a really good home setup and just get a really nice coffee at home and be able to make it ourselves, working out how it works, make sure you can put the right amount of coffee, you extract the coffee in a certain time and get a certain gram of coffee yield. It's been very educative and I did learn a lot about coffee. A second thing is, which is really good actually, is you do not have to buy a separate grinder. This coffee machine's got an integrated built-in grinder and it works just fine. It's been really good and it just does the job. The portafilter is really good quality. The coffee machine itself is just really good quality, really nice build. You've got a cup preheated tray at the top, so it's really good if you want to warm up your cup. I don't know whether you're gonna use it or not. It's not that hot, I would say, but it's there, so if you need it. The water tank at the back, it can be quite challenging to fill. It would have been better if it could be like actually on the Sage Barista dual boiler at the front, so you can fill the tank at the front. It could have been good, but it's not really a big deal. It's big enough and it does the job. In terms of pros, I haven't got much more pros actually, but I do like this coffee machine. It's a really nice like barista experience at home and I do enjoy it. Should you buy one? Absolutely yes. This coffee machine is excellent, and if you like to drink coffee shop quality coffee, then it will take a machine of this quality to make it. As I said earlier, this coffee machine costs £500, $600. The Barista Express is about as good as a coffee as your money can buy. Although half of the price of the company's dual boiler, the Barista Express has the same built-in quality. It just looks really sleek, it's really nice, it's got a really good finish, and it feels good and look fantastic really. It feels durable, it really feels as though you're getting your money worth from it. Will I buy one again? Yes. I'll probably buy one again, or if I have the money, I'll probably upgrade it for a dual boiler. But it does mean buying a grinder separately, and as long as you don't mind having to go through the process of making your own coffee from scratch every day, this coffee machine is for you. Let's make a coffee and I'll give you a couple of tips at the end of this video. Right, so first things, we're going to grind the coffee. Make sure it's on double. Then the coffee grind size is actually on 2 at the moment. Going to pour. So I would usually shake it a tiny bit. That's it. So as you can see, I was saying earlier, if you pour it like that, you do have some coffee. So if you haven't got one of these, I will definitely advise to buy one. This is basically a distributor and leveler. at the same time. It's a game changer for any coffee machine. Easy both. Makes a perfect shot, perfectly flat. Coffee machine. I do use a scale, which is very practical. So I did put roughly 19 to 20 grams of coffee for a double shot. Then we're going to try to extract this coffee in pretty much, let's say 28 to 30 seconds. And we want to try to extract a roughly 28 to 30 grams of yield coffee. Here we go. By the way, I do use local coffee from Ozone coffee roaster Empire. It's been really good. We have exactly 31 grams of yellow coffee. You can see there is a really nice crema. Then we're going to make the milk. So as you can see, it's a bit quicker because we did use it previously. Perfect. I do advise to put the jar at 45 degrees. And just play with the steam one, just at the surface. To make sure you can get some air in the milk and you will get a really nice texture. That's it. That's perfect. Coffee machine. You may have some water in the tray. However, the tray is fairly big. You can hear the water going in the tray. So you can see the milk texture. Then we're going to pour the milk, in the coffee. I think we may have to work a bit harder on the latte art latte. However, I'm sure. Yeah, the coffee is good. That is actually really good. This is a really good coffee, and it's just really nice to be able to make your own flat white and to get at home rather than going to a coffee shop every day. I've really enjoyed this, and once again, this coffee machine is absolutely amazing. Couple of tips. If you just go or you're planning to get this coffee machine, I will definitely advise to go for 1 kilogram of the same coffee, because you will have to play quite a lot with the beans. The beans basically age and shrink as well, so you will have to play with the ground size. But if you do have the same coffee, it will make it much easier. Once you get comfortable with the same coffee, you might want to start playing with different coffees, and you will get a sense of just by touching the beans, really looking at the beans, see how the beans are, how big they are or dark they are. It will give you a really good idea. The second tip is for the milk. I find it quite hard to get a good texture for the milk. I will definitely encourage you to use whole milk if possible. It just makes the whole concept of getting a really good texture for the milk much easier than any other milk, really. I hope that this video was really helpful for you. I hope this video was helpful. If so, please subscribe and hit the bell. I've got more video coming for you. If you've got any other question regarding the Sage Barista Express or any other coffee machine, bean to cup, or just your experience of the Barista Express, please feel free to leave comments and I'll come back to you.